with some reverent opening words. And then I'm going to share my Pilou story with you all. Tia Ma is going to do a lovely clearing for us. And then my mother, Trey, over there, she'll be starting the story time. So, will you sit down? Two of you? Want to sit down?
Making her sit down. I might not get up.
She's the director.
Okay, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you in particular to Amber, Gina, Eileen, and Tia for all your behind the scenes work. And thank you to our photographer, Lisa. And thank you, Mom, Trey, for being here. Pilou was always fascinated by our mother-daughter dynamic. So it's great that you're here. Yeah, and so my goal for the event is to share a space where we could remember and honor Pilou and her impact on the queer community of Gainesville. I must confide, it did get a little stressful trying to orchestrate a gathering where we're not all necessarily friends. Some of us don't vibe, or perhaps some of us still have wounds that we are unable to resolve. And then there are some tensions based on petty moments from the past. There's a whole continuum of distance and grief. There are those I understand why they may never want to talk to me again. Certain acts are terribly hard to move beyond. Welcome. In spite of this, I must share what Pilou's death has taught me. Do not take for granted your friendships. Be careful with your words. Take distance with love. Whether we like it or not, all of us have been dancing around one another for decades. We're a human chain, a tribe. Not all members of the same tribe get along, but we are threaded together. And so I will share my Pilou story, which I have been writing for a week every morning, and she started liking it yesterday. I had done some editing. So, all right. The first time I saw you was at a House of Ma performance at the University Club, which was my second home. If you showed up before 7, you didn't need to pay a cover. It was the mid-90s, and female drag or drag king was not even a thing yet. Still, this just wasn't just female drag. There were sex toys, jockstraps, cute girls with shaved scalps, and the many faces of you. Sometimes you looked so feminine with your dark curls and long legs. And then you could be Chris Rock, or Glenn Campbell, or one of the boys from NSYNC. And then you were also Crystal Gale, lip-syncing Don't You Make My Brown Eyes Blue. With such tenderness, it brought me to tears. I felt a pull towards you, the stage, and your backup dancers. Not long after that, I couch crashed at my friend M, who lived in one of the crumbling 2-family houses by the St. Francis house. Gone now, of course. As it happened, you lived on the other side of the M's place. I can still hear your voice calling out for Garbo. Garbo! 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 And even though only a wall separated us, when our paths crossed, you scarcely acknowledged my existence. You strutted around Gainesville with all your varying looks and hair, like you were the coolest girl in the world. And that is only because you were. And then I thought my time had come. One night you invited Em and I to play poker at your place and told her she could bring me along. Your long, narrow half of the house was dimly lit and stuffed with art, books, costumes, and numerous metal filing cabinets. Everything about your surroundings felt from another era, but no specific era in particular. The smell of weed was thick in the air, obviously. You and several other edgy and fashionable House of Ma girls were sitting at your dining table shuffling cards. I'd never played poker before. I said as much. They said they didn't care. I'd sold my plasma that morning and was already a bit out of it. So then the joints just kept coming. had to keep up, and I did, until I slumped forward in my chair and smacked my forehead onto your dining room table. Everything shook. The collective card game focus was shattered. Em had to wrangle me up and out of your nest where I had been so grateful to land. The next morning, I woke up sprawled out on Em's bathroom floor. And cursed at myself for obliterating any possibility of winning your friendship and thus the opportunity to live a House of Ma lifestyle. Though in the end, the proximity worked in my favor. Over the next year or so, whenever you needed a warm body to fill the stage, you called me. At first you were frustrated with me. I was slow to learn choreography, staying alive in particular, and then insane. Yeah. You wanted so much more from me. I don't know the exact moment it all changed, when you shined your light and attention upon me. But once you did, I transformed from a clunky backup dancer to Billy Idol, smear, and all. Gradually, I was living the House of Ma lifestyle, which meant I got to hang out with you a lot. I find myself living in what E.B. White calls a dual existence. One part of me is here, in what we call the present, but another part of me is at the beach with you right now. You're taking great care to spread suntan lotion over your tattoos. You lean back onto your elbows and open your heart space to the sun. And I feel so lucky to know the softer side of you when there is no performance in the air. Still, there was nothing like showtime. All the weeks of planning, practicing, costuming, choreography, then that moment when all our energies took on a perversely humorous, dazzling shape for the stage. I recently saw grainy film footage from our Glenn Campbell number. In spite of the low resolution, when I zoomed in on my face, I say it wrong, when I zoomed in on my face, I know, I saw something I didn't even recognize, a divine joy that I'd only felt when on the stage with you. And I saw you, Pilou, truly embodying Glenn Campbell better than Glenn Campbell. You extend your long leg out and kick at the air. We glittery rhinestone showgirls twirl in orbit around your light. In the video, at the end of the performance, you reach out your arm to draw me in close to you as we all dramatically pose, and then freeze until the applause subsides. Pilou, the last time I saw you, it was 20 years ago at a public event, and we ignored each other. When friends asked me to explain what happened, I refrained from delving in too deep. For one, I have shame surrounding the ending. Also, I know too well my narrative has been carefully constructed. It's just that, a narrative, the more you tell a story, the less accurate it becomes. Each retelling embellishes and deletes. But this particular story, this is my first time telling it this way. And while I am here now talking to you and your friends and fans, there is a part of me in some other space or time who still shares the stage with you. We strike a pose, we freeze. And now, thank you so much. And now, I would like to invite Tia to do the Space Queen.
Thank you, Amy. I want to take a moment and thank this land here. Thank this earth and these trees and the animals and insects here. And I want to thank the spirits letting us borrow your space. It's nice to be in reverence and celebrating life in such a beautiful cemetery. But I'm sure many of us hung out for you here in Garbo. So I want to take some moments of silence so that we can all land here and be present and listen. And I want to invite Pilou. I brought a cushion for you, Pilou. I hope you like the color. I'd like to invite you here, present with us, in any way that feels right for you. I'm going to ring the bell to begin, and then after silence, I'll ring it. Thank you, Kia. Okay, Trey.
You're right next to me. Okay. Stand up. Get in the middle. I did write some stuff down, but nothing like what Amy wrote, which, kind of exemplified Pilou. And, it's hard to tell, but I'm a little older than Pilou was. And so we had I was on the peripheral for a long time with Pilou because through Amy and several other friends in common. But whenever I was around her, I had fun and I appreciated how audacious she was. I felt like Gainesville had its own share. Like she was, I wanted to be like Pilou, and I am nothing like Pilou, but she was so smart, and so clever, and so beautiful. One day and she had so many good things to say, and she had a lot of, cut to the chase moments. We used to wind up together on weird occasions, and one such occasion was on a Victorian porch in the duck pond, painting a house. And she was doing the trim, and I think I was sanding and varnishing a door. And somehow the conversation came to my eternal bachelorhood. Why was I always a bachelor and everything? And she said, everybody here knows you, Trey. I think you'd be better off going out of town. And I never asked why, because I didn't want to go into that next level of unapologetic candor. And she had many layers of that, which I always appreciated. And I appreciated being in a House of Ma production, the one that was in a crosstown theater for like 3 consecutive weekends. And really, I didn't have a big role. I got to do a Tony Bennett ballad while they were having a costume change. And so it was kind of, I'm not going to do it for you, don't worry. But it was a lot of fun. And just watching, every weekend, that dressing room back there, I don't drink, but they sure did. And everything called for a shot. And by the time that night was over, it was... But the way that whole thing ended was pretty crazy because she wanted to have a circus the last night. She wanted a circus performance in the parking lot of the Crosstown Theater. And it was so cool. We had people on stilts eating fire, and then we had somebody catch on fire. And it was our dear Taylor. It ended at the emergency room at North Florida that night. But it was okay. After some time.
AGH? We're still at AGH now,
After
man.
some time. But the point is, just to be a part of Pilou's stuff was like, like a feather in my cap, because like I said, I'm not as young as everybody else here, so, to even be asked, and, well, the Tony Bennett thing kind of aged me a little bit too, but that's the kind of stuff I like. But I am so missing her, and the news of her sickness, and then it just struck me how we are lost, without that energy, without that audaciousness, without that wit. And didn't matter how funny, whatever it was, she was getting ready to say, and it was hilarious. She would never crack a smile while saying it. She could just boom it, you know, and I wanted to be that person too. And I think kind of that's what Pilou did. Like, Pilou wasn't always Pilou. Pilou was a people performer. And the people that got to know Pilou when she wasn't performing saw that soft side that, you know, like when she let you in. And I saw a little bit of that, and I always appreciated it. But like everybody else, I just kind of wanted to be like her in certain ways. She's going to be missed, but her spirit will always be here, and she's always been in Gainesville, and I've never forgotten her when she was well or sick. And I'm so appreciative of this gathering. And, you know, I don't have so many stories to say, but I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so it's time for anyone who wants to share a story, some words, whatever moves you.
I think I'll go
Right,
right, Taylor.
just to get on it.
Get on
Get
it.
up on it, girl.
For one thing, Trey was doing a door that I hired her to do on the Victorian home. And Pilou worked for me. She was my right hand woman house painter. You know, I painted houses for a few years, and Pilou, she was the one person that worked for me most of that whole time. And that is how I knew her primarily, was just in this work way. So, and, you know, I ended up being in House of Ma, of course, here and there, just having, you know, cameos here and there. And in the horn, I played the horn in one of them at the, but either way, the way I knew Pilou primarily was at work. And the thing that I loved about Pilou, you know, was that she disappeared at work. You know, I worked in people's homes, and there were certain people who worked for me a little bit here and there who did not disappear for the client. Like, they would interact with the client, and it wasn't helpful for them, for other people to be, you know, a part of what I was doing. And she never did that. She was just so behind the scenes and just busy washing buckets, taking care of things, that they did not have to think about her for a second. You know? Hollis, on the other hand, right?
She
Just
wishes
saying.
she were here today.
Yeah, I wish she was here. Absolutely. So,
But not painting.
no, not helping me. But that's the difference, you know, that Pilou could perform, because she was so the like the person in the room when she was performing Pilou, House of Ma Pilou, and Performance Pilou, and just Pilou, you know, being Pilou. But then when she came to work, she was gone. It was so weird, and it was very. We also just got to talk on the way to work. We worked all over the county and even down Marion County. So, yeah, it was a fun time. She was a really enjoyable person to work for, and I will really. It's just a sad world without Pilou in it, even though she isn't up here anymore. You know, knowing people. You know, we had a family friend died early this year. She took her own life, and they were about the same age. And you know, thinking of people who have this perfect body, who gave it up, not knowing that they could get some help. It's really hard. You know, you think of that difficult moment for our friend, and then the same kind of difficulty. You know, somebody whose body was that compromised. I knew Pilou would have wanted to live forever, but that's just life. It's a hard life, and those two deaths are felt very closely to us in our family. So just thinking of Kristen today, in addition to Pilou.
All right.
Because if I sit, I'm just gonna get scared. So I'm Alvarez. Hi. Because I look like a mom now. Yeah, I had a complicated relationship with Pilou, and I appreciate that. I understand that came up, and you're sharing, Amy. So this whole event has just stirred up a lot of, the event being her passing, but something that I didn't know Pilou outside of performing. But the thing about Pilou for me, and I have to say I'm not a professional performer, so I don't have like a wide like resume of all these things I did, but she spoke performance, and that was a language that was like, not everybody speaks that, what works on the stage, and I never realized that was even a language, honestly, until I was just sitting there thinking about her. And it was just a unique, that was the relationship I had with her, and that she spoke that language, and she was brilliant. She knew what worked. The costuming was on point. When I would bring, or we would bring, thinking about Devo. Thinking about Devo, when I brought that idea, which was a number we did, it was like a 6th grade show or something. Looking at you, Paula Abdul.
Yes. One of my finer performances for sure.
That was fantastic. I thought. But she was with it, and I don't know, there's something really refreshing about, it's not a language I speak with other people, because I guess it's not something I do a lot, but that when we did it, she just, she spoke it fluently, she executed fluently. It was brilliant. And I guess I'm just really reflecting a lot on that about her.